Yeah, I'm going to real quick do a few introductions and housekeeping items, and then I will hand it over to Raghavendra to give our presentation. If you have not been before, we have a Facebook group that you can join to connect between meetups. You can find it if you search WordPress accessibility on Facebook. Otherwise, the URL is facebook.com/groups/WordPress.accessibility. If you are interested in seeing other upcoming meetups, or if you want to get the recording of this meetup, that's a question that we always get, and I can guarantee you it'll show up in the chat about halfway through this. Is this being recorded? Yes, this is being recorded. It takes us about 2 weeks to get a corrected transcript, and then we'll release the video with the transcript. So you can find all of the past meetup recordings and see what future meetup topics are going to be if you go to equalizedigital.com/meetup. That will redirect you to a much longer URL, but that's the quick way to get there. We also highly recommend joining our email list. You can go to equalizedigital.com/focus-state. Or if we've done things right, you'll land on a thank you page when you leave the webinar where you can join the email list. We send out a newsletter about twice a month, and then we send out other reminders about events right before them or as they get scheduled. So that's the best way to see what events are coming and also get news and announcements, and the links to the recordings are shared via the newsletter that we send out. We are seeking sponsors for this meetup. The evening meetup right now currently doesn't have a sponsor, and we do rely on sponsors to help us cover the cost of live captions. So if anyone is interested in sponsoring, please let us know. You can reach out to myself and Paula, our co-organizer, who you're going to see in the chat, and who is helping run things and doing all the magic behind the scenes, if you email us at meetup@equalizedigital.com. So who are we? I'm Amber Hines. I am the CEO of Equalize Digital. We're a certified B Corporation and a WordPress VIP agency partner. We have a plugin for WordPress websites called Accessibility Checker that can help you to find the issues that are able to be found with an automated checker in your WordPress website. There's a free version on wordpress.org. And we are the organizer of the meetup. We also are the sponsor for the live captions tonight because we don't have a separate sponsor. You can learn more about us on our website, or we're on Twitter. That's probably where I'm the most active as far as social media goes, is on Twitter. And we're just at Equalize Digital on Twitter. And then we do want to thank Empire Caption Solutions. Empire Caption Solutions has donated their services to us post-event. They take our recorded video and they create that corrected captions file and transcript file. And we very much appreciate them for donating that services to the meetup. In addition to video transcription and podcast transcription, they also offer ASL services and audio description services as well. So we highly recommend checking them out. Their website is empire.captions.com, and you can find them on Twitter if you want to tweet them a thank you for donating their services to the WordPress Accessibility Meetup at Empire Caption. There are 3 upcoming events that I want to share with you all. The first one is later this week. It is not part of the meetup. I just have to make that clear because it is a paid event, because we are paying this speaker and we didn't find a sponsor. So we're trying to cover our costs with live captions as well. But it is a 2-hour workshop on how to use VoiceOver for accessibility testing. So VoiceOver is a screen reader that works specifically for Mac computers. So if you're a Mac user, you have VoiceOver on your computer already. Nick Corbett from the Carroll Center for the Blind will be leading that webinar, and he'll be talking you through all of the recommended settings for VoiceOver for doing accessibility testing, and then doing some testing and talking about how to test with VoiceOver. That is this Thursday, February 23rd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. US Central Time. It is, as I mentioned, it is a paid webinar. However, we really want to make it work for everyone. So if the price doesn't work for you, please reach out to us and we'll see what we can do to make that work. And then the next two events are meetups. And I will be speaking on Thursday, March 2nd. I'll be sharing a talk that a lot of people have asked about, which is how to grow recurring revenue with accessibility monitoring and remediation plans. So I'll be sharing how we approach getting people onto auditing and fixing over time so that we have recurring revenue and they don't have to make a big cash outlay for remediation all at once. And then on Monday, March 20th, so in this same time slot, Alex Stein will be back with me and we will be doing a live audit of the Paid Memberships Pro plugin and giving feedback to their team. So that's a great meetup to tune into as well. I am very excited. I'm going to add a spotlight here so Raghavendra is visible to everyone. Again, I'm very excited to introduce Raghavendra to everyone. Raghavendra is a digital transformation specialist working with small and large enterprises in the areas of digital accessibility and digital marketing. He has an accessibility blog at Digital Ally, but it's A11y.com. And he also founded Hello A11y.com, which is a community of accessibility professionals, developers, and enthusiasts. I have gotten to know Raghavendra through WordPress Accessibility Day, which he helped to organize last year, and he helped a lot with the auditing there. And then he has come and consulted for our company and has helped us with some user testing and some accessibility testing for some of our clients. So I can't speak highly enough about his skills, and I'm very excited that he was willing to come and speak to Meetup and share what his process is for finding and documenting accessibility issues. So Raghavendra, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to let you take over sharing. For everyone that is watching, there is a Q&A box in Zoom. If you can try to put questions into the Q&A box, that is the easiest way for me to keep track of them because the chat can get a little bit noisy. We will try and ask questions. Raghavendra, you kind of want questions as they come in. Is that what you're thinking makes the most sense? Or do you want me to hold them towards the end? Do you have a preference?
Oh, I missed that, Amber. Screen reader was speaking it.
Oh, yep. Do you have a preference on, do you want me to chime in when questions come in, or do you want to hold them more towards the end?
If it is relevant to the whatever the topic that we're going through, you can chime in and stop, or we can take it at the end also.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So everyone, I'm happy to hand it over to Raghavendra, and then we can dive in.
You have started screen share. Press F. Screen share.
You see my screen?
Live transcription.
Yep, we can.
Desktop.
It might be helpful to minimize the video in Zoom. I don't know if you're able to do that.
NVDA Zoom 2 running.
I don't know how to do it.
Zoom 2 running. NVDA Zoom 2 screen sharing meeting control. Mute audio set. Stop video settings.
I don't know how to do it.
Okay, not a problem. I'm just going to turn my video off, but I'll chime in if I need
Desktop
to.
and Word 1 run. Google Chrome Spotlight demo.
Okay, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're in part of the world. My name is Raghava, and I'm the founder of digital11y.com and Hello 11y, a community of accessibility professionals. I'm based out of India. I worked with IBM and DQ Systems in past, and I do a lot of consulting work now. I've been using WordPress for more than 14 years, and I'm late blind. I became blind about 9 years back due to a genetical disorder. Today, I'll live test a website, and I'll also share the process of how I'm going to record accessibility bugs in the Google Sheets, and how I identify bugs. And I'll also be sharing some of the tools that I'll be showcasing, and how I built my own reference documents, and how I write my own code to see if there is any problem with either screen reader or browser, just quickly to test.
Spotlight demo bullet Spotlight Google Chrome.
So we have Spotlight and
Spotlight out of list. Banner landmark visited link graphic Spotlight Instagram feeds.
okay, quickly for everyone, is the NVIDIA speed sufficient enough, or do I need to slow it down?
I think that speed is okay. You know, I just had a thought. I could remote into your computer real quick and minimize a few things. Would you be okay with me doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Amber Hines, equalize. You can regain approved button. Tap waiting for Amber Hines, equalize to control your screen alert. Taskbar. Waiting for Amber Hines, equalize. Spotlight demo bullets. Visited link graphic
I
Spotlight.
wonder if
Chrome,
I can't actually click on the
demo.
Zoom stuff though. No, it's behind. It's in front of it.
Try it for free. Clickable banner landmark. Try it for free button.
Well,
I think
that's
it's
okay.
Try it for free.
You see that Zoom floating bar?
Yeah, so I see the Zoom
I
floating
think-
bar. There's also a banner that a participant has enabled closed captions that I was going to try and close, that's in front of the website you're sharing.
Video settings. Drop down.
Try it now. Should be able to close it now.
Support.
No, I
Demo.
think that it's not allowing me to interact with the
Toolbar.
Zoom.
Address and search bar edit has auto-complete control plus L selected spotlight.com/support.
Control Shift.
Share this, bookmark this. Feature pricing link.
I
So
stopped remote control, but are you
Okay.
able to get into the Zoom toolbar?
Video setting. Open participant. More op chat. More op question and new share. Pause share. Annotate but remote control button. Closed. Open app. More drop dock to bottom button. Stop share. Alt plus S button.
So
Desk. NVD. Zoom to run. NVD. Zoom. Screen. Zoom. Zoom. More drop down. Tab control. Search control. Connect Tuesday, February 20.
no.
Change. Connect your.
Are you able to list all of the, so someone posted this in the chat, which might be useful. Are you able to list all of the buttons that are available in Zoom?
Search tab more drop down button.
Yes, I can.
Stop. Expand screen share preview button.
1 minute. I'll do.
Mute. Current. Stop share.
So the shortcut keys will not work.
Expand screen.
Well, we can just go with it as it is. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Support bullet Spotlight Google Chrome. Customers link.
I think it's Alt Control Shift H or M something.
Oh, someone said Alt plus U will hide the participants. Well, but it's the video. Let's see. Someone else said, Glenn suggested will insert plus F7 show all the buttons in Zoom.
Screen sharing meeting controls window.
Yeah, it's not working.
Live transcription. Closed captioning. Who can see this? Close
button. There we go. Close that button.
Expand screen share preview button.
It's
oops.
Mute.
You were back. Yeah.
Okay.
Live transcript. Who can close button?
Close
Who
that.
can see this transcript? Recording on button.
Not that one. The tab
button.
ones.
This one?
Yep. Close that.
Mute. Currently unmuted.
Okay.
Is it closed?
Yep. So that big banner went away. There's one more, which is the video, but it's probably fine.
Show grid video button. Show small active speaker video button.
Okay, that's better. Yeah, I think that's better.
Video button.
This is good.
Yeah, you could potentially actually minimize it. Can you go? I think it might be a shift tab.
Show grid video. Hide thumbnail video button. Show thumbnail video. Show grid video button. Hide thumbnail. Show thumbnail video button.
I think hide.
Show grid. Hide thumbnail video button.
Yes, hide.
Okay. Done?
Awesome. Yep. Looks good. Thank you, Raghavendra.
Screen sharing. Screen share. Support bullet.
It's insert F6 for people who want to know. And I found it by chance.
Out of list link. Banner land. Navigation.
Let me drink some water. So when I reach any page, first I check the page title to see on which page I am.
Support bullet spotlight Google Chrome.
So I'm on support spotlight. I'm on the support page. That gave me a hint. I use the keystroke insert plus T. And what I do is I don't use generally insert F7 to see the list of headings and all. I just quickly run. Generally, if I'm running very fast with my screen reader, I do something called discovery. So what I do is I see if there are tables.
No next table.
Okay, if any radio buttons.
No next radio button.
So I use T. These are single shortcuts. I'm not using any NVDA shortcut key like insert. I'm just pressing T and it says
no next table.
No tables.
No next radio button.
If I press R, no radio buttons. If I press C.
Main landmark form clickable. What can we help you with? Star combo box collapsed required a pre-sales question.
So there's a combo box here. When I press C, it went to there. So I'm going to go to the top of the page once more.
Out of form link skip to content.
And I'll press X to see if there are any checkboxes.
Main landmark form clickable. I agree to the privacy policy and terms. Star checkbox not checked required invalid entry.
So there's a checkbox. So let's see if there are any buttons.
Out of form link banner landmark try it for free button. Main landmark visit the documentation button. Contact us directly button.
Okay, there are buttons. The multiple buttons I see. So what I did is I just used the basic shortcut keys of NVDA, like B for buttons, T for tables, X for checkboxes, C for combo box, and R for radio buttons.
Links.
Once I'm done, I want to know how many links are on the page.
Elements list dialog, tree view, skip to content 1 of 55 level 0.
So I did insert plus F7 and it gave me the number of links that are there on the page. So this gives me an overview of how long the page is, like how many tabs we can do within the links. And similarly,
type, grouping, links radio but headings rate, form fields radio but cancel button, move to button alt, filter by, edit alt plus tree view, try it for free, visit the documentation, button 2 of 22 level 0.
So
contact us directly, button 3 of 20.
You see form fields there 22. So what I do in my brain is I calculate the number of links, form fields, and that gives me the number of tabs I have to use. So if you have to tab through 100 elements, it's going to take a lot of time. So what I do is when I do power testing, what I call this as power testing or a quick micro audit, I generally browse through the page using down arrow quickly. For this, I generally use JAWS because I'm trained in JAWS when I was transitioning from being a low vision person to blind person 15 years back. And JAWS speed, I can catch up much better than NVDA. So
support bullets.
What I'll do is I'll quickly see how many headings.
Link skip main landmark support heading level 1.
I'm just pressing H to see how many heading structures are there.
Common questions heading level 2. Documentation heading level 2. Support hours heading level 2. Contact us heading level 2. Frequently asked questions heading level 2. Community heading level 2. Support heading level 2. Company heading level 2. No next heading.
There are only few headings.
Link skip.
And by looking at the heading structure, I understood what each of the heading will contain, the content of that heading. So when I reach that particular heading and evaluate the content, it becomes easy for me. I also want to see if there are any list items.
Banner landmark navigation landmark list clickable with 6 items demo visited link.
The navigation has list 6. Okay.
Main landmark list with 6 items. How do I connect a client's Instagram account? Link. Form clickable list with 4 items bullet. Link compare spot bullet. Out of list helpful list with link bullet. Link display public Instagram posts from list with 5 items features link. List with 4 items blog link.
Yeah, the
link showcase.
A couple of list items. So once I have run through all this checklist, then I'll run X.
Dev alert dev to level 2.
What I did is I pressed F12 and I have Axe DevTools extension installed on my Chrome. So
main tool panel act dev alert catch more issues with Pro. Try for free. No.
So I went to DevTools. So if you go
Out
here,
of list tab. Panels tab control. Axe Dev.
so if you go to this elements and just normally for me, Axe DevTools is the last tab. So when
Axe Dev Tools tab selected 12 of 12.
I just press from elements left arrow. So that is the last tab. So it opens Axe DevTools for me. So you have to install and enable the extension. So you can see this in your DevTools, Axe DevTools.
Open issues to view 2 issues. 2 Axe Dev to navigate sign in button mainland scan all of my page button.
So if you see, I'm just jumping from button to button here, scan all of my page. So as an accessibility specialist, what happens is all this becomes a muscle memory for me. Even though while I'm not doing accessibility, let's just assume that I'm browsing a web page. So once I'm familiar with some tool or a web page, it becomes so easy to navigate, go to that web or site or tool, and without pressing tab, I can just jump to the target element that I want to activate. So
Button scan all of my analyzing your page. Tab guided tests, heading level 2 test name, button, heading level 2 test URL, button visited link HTTP, heading level 2 total issues, link total issues 33.
We have 33 issues. So so many elements below this. So what I'm doing is I'm just jumping to the issues that I want to see.
Raghavendra,
Yes.
would you be able to change the way your DevTools is docked so that it's on the side rather than the bottom? Are you familiar with how to do that? Only because right now we can't actually see what's in the DevTools panel.
Okay. If you can guide me, I can do it. I think we can make the DevTools. There's a shortcut to make it.
There
full screen.
probably is a keyboard shortcut.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure if I know how to do that. But there's a settings.
Out of frame, toggle
What is
device
this
toolbar,
button
toggle button
called?
not pressed, toggle device panels tab control,
Almost
open
there.
console to view 1, open issues, settings button, dialog, tab control, preferences tab
So
selected 1 of 8.
sorry, it's not actually the settings. I'm trying to see if I can figure out what this button is called. It's the tab stop after the settings button.
Button setting, customize and control DevTools menu, dock side use left and right arrow keys to navigate the options 1 of 8, undock into separate window toggle button not pressed.
Shall I undock into a separate window altogether?
If you want to go back and forth, otherwise if you were to just put it on either the left or the
Dock
right,
to
I
left
think.
toggle button not pressed.
Okay.
Space, main toolbar navigation
This
left,
is good.
DevTools is docked to left.
Yes.
Button close.
And while I'm
Navigation
talking, I'll
tool,
ask you.
menu bar menu, main landmark complementary landmark best practices check.
Okay.
Total issues heading level, link total issues 33.
So we see total issues are 33. So what I'm going to do is once you get familiar with Axe DevTools, if you just tab, there are a lot of elements here.
List with link automatic out of list link total issues 30. List with 4 items.
So what I do is I just press X.
Complementary landmark best practices checkbox not checked.
So there's a best practice checkbox. I don't scan for best practices. I only look for failures, WCAG failures. A lot of my clients want only WCAG failures. That's one of the reason I avoid best practices. So what I do is I press B here.
Export button, toggle collapse button, region toggle highlight check, toggle collapse button expanded. Region certain ARIA roles must contain particular children 2 button collapsed. Region toggle highlight checkbox not checked. Elements must have sufficient color contrast 21 button collapsed. Region interactive controls must not be nested 10 button collapsed.
So if you see this.
No next button.
So
toggle interactive control.
I expanded this because
1 of 10.
This is something that I did not understand. So what I do is again,
issue description.
I'm pressing H here to move to the heading.
Issues, region issue description heading level 3. Ensures interactive controls are not nested as they are not always announced by screen readers or can cause focus problems for assistive technologies. Heading level 3 element location.
So I'm just pressing down arrow to see.
Number element or tab.
So if you see element location is not very helpful for me, but element source, where is the source?
Heading level 3 element source. Less div id equals elementer tab title 2021 class equals elementer tab title data tab equal.
So this is the source that I generally work with developers. So by looking at this, I also understood the WordPress site is built with Elementor. which is the page builder.
ARIA controls equals Elementor heading level 3 to solve this problem.
And
you
yeah.
need to heading level 4 fix the following. Element has focusable descendants. Heading level 4 related node.
So it did not say exactly what to fix here.
Element has focusable descendants.
But we understood there's some nested ARIA issues over there that needs fixing. So once I finish this one, like I understood there are ARIA issues, there are no form field related issues, there are no empty links, there are no buttons that are not labeled. So if you see major issues are related to nesting, color contrast, and
list next issue previous first share issue inspect issue interact toggle highlight region elements toggle region toggle collapse button expanded. Region toggle highlight checkbox. Certain ARIA roles must contain particular children. 2 button collapsed.
Okay, there's elements that do not have children.
Expanded button expand button in link more info issue description head ensures element dot element less div class equals elementer accordion role equals tablelist greater.
Okay.
To solve this, heading level 4 list with 2 items bullet element has children which are not allowed. See bullet element has no ARIA busy equal bullet element has children which are not allowed. See related nodes. Out heading level 3 to solve this prob less div class equals elementer accordion role equals tablelist greater.
So the role tables do not seem to have role tab children. So we need to inspect this. So whatever Axe gives me, it gives me an overview of the issue, but it's not giving me where exactly what is the problem here. So I need to manually see if this is a valid issue. Again, most of the Axe issues, no, there's no false positives. Definitely there's some problem with the code here. So we'll inspect the code when we see manually, and I'm going to press F12 to undock this and close.
Support bullet spotlight.
Any questions still here? Like Amber, any questions?
One person was asking, are you using the paid version of Axe DevTools or the free version?
I'm using the free version.
Okay. And someone else asked, when you're using the letter shortcut to see all of the different items that you had, so like headings, buttons, form fields, those things, would it help if those lists had accessible names?
Yes, they should. They all should have. Like when we have a heading, it should be. Let's just say if I
out of main landmark support heading level 1.
So it says support heading level 1. So that is the name. So there's 2 things. When what we see is the label, what screen reader outputs is the accessible name. So generally, like if you see
block quote original review link.
If the original review can be an icon, but the accessible name can be the ARIA label that is provided can be original review. So there's a difference between the accessible label and accessible name. According to W3C, what you see is the label, but what assistive technologies output is the accessible name.
Thanks. Those are the only questions so far.
Okay. So once I finish all this and see if there are any accessibility issues, I already ran a couple of tools and all that. So what I generally do is I do refresh of the page. Let me
support bullet spotlight. Main landmark block quote link original review out of block quote. Clickable link skip to banner landmark skip to content link.
So I want to test if skip to content link is broken or not.
Main landmark heading level 1 support block quote. Many developers can create good plugin.
Okay, it went and it reads the entire paragraph. So it identified the main region. So
support bullet spotlight document focused read only.
If you see what I did is when I press skip to main content, it went to the skip region, wherever the heading is provided. And it started reading and I stopped it from reading that entire paragraph. But when I do insert plus tab, this is a keystroke everyone should remember when you're using NVDA. Press insert plus tab.
Support bullet spotlight document focused read only.
If you see, it says document focus read only. So when focus jump, what happens is it goes to that particular div region and it is over there. So you know that to check the current focus, like if you're on any link, any form control, when you press insert tab, it will read the current element. I'll again demonstrate it for you.
Block quote List with 6 items. How do I connect a client's Instagram account? Link.
So I'm going to press, I tap to this element now, but I'm pressing insert tab now.
How do I connect a client's Instagram account? Link focused linked.
So it reads the current focus. So this comes in very handy when you have forms, when you have focus updates. So let's just say there's a modal dialog that opened on the page, or there's an auto pop-up email sign-up form that opened, and you don't know, you get disoriented as a screen reader user. You press insert tab to see where your current focus is. And that will give you an idea what happened. So I'm going to see the navigation because there seems to be a submenu. So I
Out
want
of
to see
list visit. Navigation features collapsed submenu link.
So it says features collapse.
Features link focused collapsed linked submenu.
So if you observe here, it says features link collapse submenu. And when I encounter a link in my mind's eye, what happened is it's a link. For me, generally, a link will open a page. If it would have said features button collapsed, which is a common design pattern where expand collapse, if you give a button, it makes more sense than a link. So
expanded. Features link focused expanded linked submenu. Features grouping all features link. Features expanded submenu link. Features grouping all features. Features grouping link all features. Out of grouping expanded submenu link features. Features grouping all features link.
So it says grouping for some reason, but it should say how many list items are there inside this. So that's one failure that I see, because
features expanded submenu link.
I went to features submenu and I'm pressing down arrow.
Grouping link all features. Link hashtag fee.
So it did not say for me list of X items. How many items are there in there? So screen reader generally identifies if there are lists and nested lists, and that's a failure here.
Features expanded submenu link.
And
Menus
I want to
inspect and support alert dev tools is level 16 less a ref equals https://spotlight.com/features/class equals Elementor item has submenu ID equals SM1676943541076858 ARIA has pop-up equals true ARIA controls equals SM1676943541076858 ARIA expanded equals false greater. Less / a greater enable flex mode collapsed 1 of 3.
If you see, I did inspect the code to see if ARIA has pop-up, ARIA controls, and ARIA expanded are provided the appropriate way. So I'm going to showcase another small Chrome extension here to see if these kind of ARIA attributes are appended properly or not.
Support bullets.
I'm closing the DevTools. So I built this plugin just for my, to improve my technical knowledge, and there's a huge problem for me. So there are a lot of accessibility bookmarklets. Accessibility bookmarklets are nothing but small JavaScript snippets that that identify a particular accessibility problem in your web page. Like you can run accessibility bookmarklet to identify forms, to identify headings, to identify links that do not have accessible name or href attribute. So what I did is I took a bunch of accessibility bookmarklets and put them inside a Chrome extension. It's called 11 digital 11 white tablets, TUBLETS. So
toolbar Raghavendra shows extension Lyra has digital A11Y tablets has access to this site menu button dialog visited link graphic.
It's on Chrome. It's on Chrome Store. Everyone can download it. I'll share the link at the end of the webinar.
ARIA toggle button not pressed.
So we have ARIA.
Pressed. Images toggle button not pressed.
So we have multiple. You can identify images. You can identify headings, tables.
Forms toggle, headings toggle button not pressed. Tables toggle, landmarks toggle button not pressed.
It will show what landmarks are there. So this is especially helpful for sighted testers. Not very helpful for someone who is using a screen reader day in, day out. But sighted people who want to see quickly if landmarks are provided, if headings are provided, tables are there. Let's just say you see a specific content that appears like a table. You have the data, but you don't know if the table tag is there or not. And you can run the bookmarklet and see if the table, it will highlight the table for you. So here I want to highlight one.
Lang toggle, top index toggle, title attributes toggle button, iframes toggle, lists toggle, forced show focus toggle button not pressed.
So,
Text spacing, outline CSS image, autocomplete toggle button not
I want
pressed.
to enable this one also.
Pressed.
So
Link without href top, reset page button. Support bullet, ARIA controls equals F, collapsed submenu link ID equals F, visited link demo. Collapsed submenu link ID equals SM16769435410076. ARIA controls equals SM16.
So you see on the page only this gets annotated completely.
LEDB equals SM16. Link pricing. Link customers. Link blog. ARIA current equals page.
So they used ARIA current for the current.
Collapsed visited. ARIA current. Link blog. ID equals SM16. Try it for free button. Navigation landmark list clickable with 6 items. ID equals SM1676943541076858. Support collapsed visited submenu link current page.
Yeah, so
ARIA collapsed visited submenu link current page ID equals SM167.
so I want to expand this.
ARIA controls equals S clickable main landmark heading level 2 common questions. Block quote original review link. Banner navigation landmark.
So I'm going to reset the tablets. No, I want to see the form. There's a
Main
form.
landmark form clickable name star edit required. Clickable email star edit required. Clickable what can we help you with? Combo box. Please select the clickable helpful links list with 4 items.
So I'm going to reset the page by refreshing it. So I can remove
Support.
the bookmarklets.
Clickable banner features pricing customer blog link support collapsed visit expanded support grouping documentation link.
So again, support does not have nested list. So this is the failures. So how do I record all these failures? It's testing is in my experience. I've been doing testing for about 11 years and doing testing takes limited time, but recording accessibility failures properly so that developers can fix it takes a lot of more time. Amber, do you agree that?
Yes. 100%.
So how do I record it? So what I done is I built a small tool to automate a large portion of the process. So let's just say
blog link.
Now
Customers
I want
link.
to record
Pricing link. Features.
I want to see if the features, this thing is not there. So I want to record a tool.
Accessibility audit reporting.
So I built a small tool here. So
edit page details button. Page URL edit read only selected test.
I just put the page URL as test.
Page name edit read only selected test. Page / component screenshot edit read only selected test. Edit page details button.
So if I want, I can edit.
Page name edit selected test. Blank. FUPRT. Page URL. Blank. Support book. Toolbar. HTTP. Accessibility. Save. Checkpoint. Save but this page says dialog page details saved. OK. Space. Checkpoint start.
So
no
now,
search results.
For me, I know which checkpoint a particular guideline fails. So the list headings, list tables fail on 1.3.1. Just if I type 1.3.
6 results are available. List 1.3.1 info and relationship 1 checkpoint star combo box collapsed has autocomplete editable 1.3.1.
So I'm going to tab again.
Issue description text that is not intended as a heading should not be marked up with heading tags.
What I did is I listed out all the failure scenarios. So if you go to W3C and your understanding documents, you see something called failure techniques. And if you look at the failure, you get all of this. Most of this are listed out there.
Tabular data is displayed using CSS to present the appearance of it. Form fields have labels, but the headings use proper HTML markup, but do not accurately represent. Content is intended as content is intended as a heading, but is not. The relationship, caption element, the field set, the selection, radio or check. Content has the visual content has the visual appearance of a bulleted list, but is not marked as such.
So I'll just pick this one description here.
Issue detail, issue description star combo box content issue detail.
Okay, now I can just put
ELET space SUPRT dot element. Support NAV submenus are not marked inside a list.
So I can just put the features, or I can take the
support bullet spotlight Google selection removed. support toolbar at support out of features expanded
So I can
submenu
take this word
features
features
select
here.
copied to clip accessible element support support NAV sub space element features NAV submenus are not marked inside a list.
Okay, so
Issue title edit read affected code edit multi.
So these are all pre-filled. You select the description, everything else is pre-filled and the report is populated. I just need to write the details. I write the
affected code edit multi-line
the code snippet here.
support
Now,
bullets features expanded sub menu link menu inspect and
I'll
support
speak this.
alert dev tools side Leslie class equals menu item type post type menu item object page level 14 less LID equals menu 16 level 13 less NAV class equals elementary level 14 less LID price features collapsed sub menu link menus inspect and support bullets collapsed alert dev tools is docked to left DOM tree page DOM tree view clickable
Oh, one.
Support bullet spotlight pricing link features menu inspect dev tools document page DOM page HTTP.
Why am I not able to move into that?
Support pricing link menus inspect support bullet link DOM level 15 Leslie class equals menu item type post type menu item object page menu item 250.
I'll just copy this.
Accessibility audit reporting. Leslie class recommended action edit read only multi-line.
So if you see the recommended field action is also filled.
Issue screenshot edit multi-line blank.
So I just need to put a screenshot URL. So not generally we put it in the Dropbox or Google Drive, and I'll just give it test here.
TEST severity edit read only suggested code edit multi-line less / value statement edit level A WCA save responses but this page says dialog form data submitted smiley face OK button check.
So you might be wondering where all this data is collected. So what I did is I used Google API, Google Sheets API. So the data is collected in Google Sheets.
Desktop Firefox space Amber Hines WP designers bullet webinar registrations Gmail webinar accessibility test report Google Sheets no more cells cell A2 issue ID cell checkpoints 1.1 1.3.1 info and relationship cell B3 a cell C3 medium cell D3 cell E3 support cell F3 https unordered list markup unavailable cell H3 content has the visual appearance of a bulleted list but is not marked as such element features NAV submenus are not marked inside a list.
So if you
cell
see
J3
I'm inside the Google Sheets. I'm just checking the page title.
Accessibility test report Google Sheets Mozilla Fire.
So
Leslie class equals menu item type post.
This is the code snippet.
Action, markup unordered lists as bulleted lists if the visual appearance of the content is that of a bulleted list. How to fix, use less ul greater and less lee greater to provide semantic information. Cell L3, example less ul greater less lee greater first item less, visual order markings must be conveyed via labels and markup, to provide equal, test cell O3.
That is, so these are the headings. Like
issue screenshot cell O1.
This is a
page / issue value statement cell N1.
These are whatever the labels that we identified in the form is what
Suggested
we see here.
Code cell M, recommended actions, affected code cell K1, issue details cell J1.
I'll hold here. Any questions?
I'm actually curious, Raghavendra, so you built that form which uses the Google API to post your issues into the spreadsheet for you. Where is the form? Does that live on a website?
No, it's on my local right now.
Okay, so you're just it's like an HTML form that is hosted
Yes.
locally on your computer.
Yes. So what I did is I built a massive repository of all the various scenarios. Let's just say if there is a carousel, okay, the carousel region is not identified. The previous and next buttons in carousel are not keyboard operable. The current state of the slide is not exposed to screen reader in the carousel. So you identify a widget, like let's say date picker. And I wrote issue descriptions for like all these scenarios. Like And then what I did is I converted it into the JSON and then put it with the HTML. So it auto-populates. So I used all the off-shelf and took everything from GitHub. Like there's a script called auto-populate from GitHub. Like I'm not a developer. So what I did is I did extensive study on how to do this. This is just what I do, tinkering. So if you ask me what I do at morning 5 to 8, these are the things that I build. I take up some hobby project and try to learn something and see if something comes out of that. So the Chrome extension is also a part of that project. So this reduces the effort. Yeah, this reduces the effort while you document accessibility issues. Because if you're copying, let's just say I'll give the list of all the accessibility issues to someone, but if they have to copy description, recommendation properly to another sheet and add their issues, it's tedious and there are a lot of mistakes that can happen. So we reduce a lot of friction and a lot of effort here.
Yeah, because you've pretty much pre-written all the possible issues and how to fix them. And then you only have to connect them to specific elements on web pages.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I still don't totally, maybe other people understand. I still don't totally understand how that form runs on your computer. But,
oh, it's just a JavaScript and HTML. I can show you the
Desktop Fire Outlook button.
I would
File
be really
Explorer,
interested in that. I
Windows
don't
button.
know if you intended to show that.
Outlook File Explorer.
it's
But
nothing.
I think it's really cool.
I can tell you what I
Desk-
used.
Firefox accessibility.
I used a
navigation,
website called
expand collapsed.
I
New
used
tab.
this API. This is
By
free.
now US.
I think it's called SheetMonkey.
The domain name sheetmonkey.com.
Oh, SheetMonkey is out. Okay.
Navigation.
Okay.
Okay. Collapse. Google document.
I
Busy.
think it's
Search land.
sheetmonkey.io.
Google Mozilla SheetMonkey Google search make clickable web result with clickable SheetMonkey. Submit your forms to Google. Visited. SheetMonkey. Submit banner heading.
I use this one. I use this one, and to run the auto, like when you see this one.
Desk and Zoom to Word 1 Google Chrome accessibility.
These are all form fields.
No.
So you just label the form field. You put the API in the form action, like you get ID.
Issue description
And
checkpoint
the
start
only
combo
thing
box.
that I
No
used
search
is this one where I did an autocomplete for this one, and I got this script from GitHub, where if you see,
SheetMonkey.
I think
Navigation
it's
expanded. Collapsed. Google document T space
It's from gov.uk.
Auto search make clickable Emacs clickable autocomplete GitHub search accessible auto main landmark clickable search
Yeah,
result,
this one.
clickable
AlphaGo. This one.
visited loading document.
So I use this one by gov.uk to autocomplete, so that it is accessible. The autocomplete feature is accessible, and then what I did is it's just a logic that you select the checkpoint, and it will give you the list of descriptions for that particular checkpoint. So that JavaScript I wrote, and I got it validated from my brother, who is also a developer. So
That's awesome. This is really cool.
yeah, so because
other people are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Team Viewer Appendix A Audit Report Tool for Audit Report Items View Audit Report. I am README 6 of 6 Index 5 Index JS 3
this
of
is
6.
just less than 1 MB of web folder. That's all. There's nothing much. I think just for styles, I asked some developer to help me with it, and he kind of used a lot of bootstrap and all that stuff. But yeah, it's we don't need all of that. If you want, just to keep it this in-house.
Do you have this form on? Do you have a GitHub account?
Do I have the?
Yeah. Do you have this on a GitHub account?
No, not yet.
If other people wanted to look at it.
No, but you can. I'll just put the logic. Like I haven't learned how to put my code snippets on GitHub yet. That is one goal in next few months to open source some of the work that I've been working on.
Yeah, it's really. So someone has asked, can you explain the difference between automated and manual accessibility testing and how both are different from user testing, and which are you demonstrating here? He said, I'm asking because the webinar mentioned manual testing, but we're demonstrating seems quite automated.
Okay, so what I did is I'm testing.
Desktop.
Okay.
NV, Zoom 2, Word 1, Google Chrome, Access.
Okay, what we did is
No search results.
we ran Axe, which is automated testing. But when I looked at the list,
DevTools document, Elements panel,
when I look at the list here,
collapsed link pricing, collapsed submenu link features.
This feature submenu not having list. This is like you do it in manual. And let's see if there is a form here.
Main landmark, clickable select files button.
And
clickable submit button.
I'm just going to submit it. Let's see.
This is a required field. Please correct errors before submitting this form. This is a required field. This is a required field. This is a required. Contact us visited link. Form, please correct errors before submitting this form. Clickable submit button. This is a required field. Clickable checkbox not checked, required invalid. Link turn link. I agree to the. Clickable message star out of edit message star. This is a required field.
So if you see this is a required field is not very helpful, but which field is required?
Summary star edit required invalid entry. This is a required field.
So
blank. This is a required field. Submit. Yeah. This is a required field. Submit.
So these are all the things that we identify in manual testing. So the only way I document my accessibility issues is when I find any manual accessibility bug, the tool helps me automate. Instead of writing each description, recommendation, code snippets, and other things, it helps me automate that stuff. And I need to add the failure code snippet and the screenshot. That's the only thing. So, and Amber, you said there's an Instagram
732
here
support
somewhere.
Bullet.
So
out of main landmark support heading level 1.
I'll go to the demo
Visit
page.
Features collapsed demo.
This is a demo page.
Spotlight demo bullet spotlight. Banner landmark navigation.
So
clickable main landmark demo. Try it for free button.
So is there a way to invoke that demo?
I think the demos are just down below. I might add something on to the question that was asked though about automated versus manual. Like I think, when you're using Axe, that's automated testing. But,
yes.
But what you're doing goes beyond that, because you're not just looking at Axe and hitting the export button, because Axe has an export if you have Pro, and it would just export to CSV all the issues Axe found. That would be automated testing. So like what you're doing is you take it to kind of point you in the direction to get started, and then you're doing manual testing, and then you've automated some of your reporting to help you speed it up, but it's still not automated testing, because you're manually testing it with a screen reader.
Yes.
And reviewing all the items on the page with the screen reader, not just what Axe found, right?
Yes. So I have a visual assistant who helps me, but she uses the bookmarklets because she doesn't want to, because I do the screen reader testing while with her, and she uses bookmarklets to see if there are any bugs that screen reader is not able to catch. And she guides me towards that because she's not a screen reader user.
Your assistant that normally helps you with the testing?
She's more of a guidance. Testing only to an extent. So they're not from accessibility background. They're like from the technology space. They're learning still. So less than a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Navigation landmark list with 9 items grid link.
So if I choose grid, I think it will show a grid view of the Instagram posts, correct?
I think so, yes.
Did anything change?
It scrolled you down the page. So that in and of itself is an accessibility
Yeah, that is a
Failure.
focus order failure.
Grid link focused link.
So my focus is still on the grid link, while I think grid is supposed to take me somewhere.
Custom link.
Right, press custom. It scrolled me again.
Yep, it visually changed the page, but it didn't shift your focus. So what would
Okay.
you fail that? What would you put that under?
Oh, I'll put it in focus order.
Mhm.
So either this goes into focus order. Yeah. Let's see what the
Accessibility.
tools say.
Edit page D. Checkpoint star combo box 2 x comma collab blank 2 dot 4 dot 3 list 2 check it hidden element in focus order is not logical and intuitive due to the focus is not set on the modal focus is not trapped within the focus is not returned to the skip links presented lack programmatic focus and just scroll to element visually.
You see this one?
Yep.
So this is the description.
Mhm.
And
issue details, issue title, edit, read only, selected, missing programmatic focus on skip links, affected code, edit, recommended action, edit, read only, multi-line, properly set focus to the content area when activated. Properly set focus to the out of edit, read only, multi-line action. Make sure jump links are given programmatic focus, element that receives visual focus. Blank. How to fix, properly set focus to the content area when activated. Out of edit issue screenshot.
so that's the
Spotlight demo bullets.
So we'll test this particular screen.
Automated Instagram feed. Navigate. Link highlight. Link out of list.
So where is the Instagram feed then?
Upload new posts.
So-
Really that simple.
Sorry, give me a second. I'm counting.
Posting to Instagram is something you know.
So there's probably 8 tab stops after you would get you to the list. Otherwise, there's also a heading.
It's a
Automated
button.
Instagram
There's a
feeds.
name.
Custom automated Instagram feed. Get started with a clickable at flavio.flow link. 83 posts, 4 followers. Link button, follow flavio.flow on Instagram.
That's
Instagram
one of
post
the
from
posts.
@flavio.
Yeah, but for all the views, I think.
Follow Instagram post from @flavio.flow graphic button. Instagram post from @flavio.flow graphic button.
So I'm not sure what is the purpose of each of
Instagram
this
post
one.
from @flavio.flow graphic button.
So I'm going to press enter.
Clickable next Instagram post button. Close pop-up button.
This is a modal dialog. Okay.
Next Instagram post button.
So focus mode into the modal dialog and
Close pop-up. Previous Instagram post button. Next Instagram post button. Button close pop-up. Dialog clickable. Blank, 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 blank. Button close pop-up. Button next button previous clickable. Toggle customer support frame button. Out of frame desktop. Content info landmark.
so if you see the modal dialog opened in the footer region of the page.
Link YouTube.
You see this?
Link Facebook.
So what I did is I just, while I'm tabbing.
Link desk. Toggle out of frame. Clickable previous. Next. Close previous. Next Instagram post button.
When I'm tabbing, my focus is trapped within the dialog. But when I press up arrow.
Close pop-up button. Previous clickable. Toggle customer support frame button. Out of frame desktop. Content info landmark link Twitter.
That's the footer region.
And you shouldn't be able to arrow out of this.
No,
either.
you should not be able to arrow. So there's a failure
Accessibility
for that also.
audit reporting to recommended action edit read
Let's
only
see.
issue details edit issued focus does not move to the form field. The focus is either lost or does not. The navigation order select custom issue description. The focus is not set on the modal. First, focus is not trapped within the mode. The focus is not returned to the element. The skip links. The focus order is not logical and intuitive due to the usage of positive tab hidden element in tab or checkpoint star combo box. Blank 1.3.2 list 1 point checkpoint issued. The DOM order dialogues or menus are not adjacent to their trigger control in the sequential navigation order.
You see this here? These are the failures.
An agree to cookies dialog. CSS is used to visually hidden content is announced. Screen reader does not announce static layout table reading content presented using CSS in screen reader browse mode. It is possible for the screen reader to access the parent page content while a modal dialog is active.
So this is the failure description on that one.
Yeah, because they have a focus lock for tab, but they did not have a focus lock when you're in browse mode.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing that I noticed on that was that all of those buttons, which I give them kudos because first of all, they were actually coded as buttons to open the images in the modal. A lot of
Mhm.
times on other plugins, I see they're like links. So I think they did a good job
Yes.
making buttons,
Yes. Yes.
but they
Yes.
all had the exact same
Spotlight.
name.
That is the
Right.
confusing thing because I did not understand which Instagram post I'm opening, correct? So I think
Mhm.
it needs to fetch whichever the Instagram post and give a small hint.
So like so that's the weird thing about Instagram because it's captions, right? There may not be alt text on the image,
Yes.
but do you
Yes.
want like some amount of the caption to be used to make them unique?
Yes, if you can,
buttons?
if we can fetch it, yes.
Mhm.
Link YouTube.
And if you see this footer social media links, I think
Link Twitter. Link YouTube.
so they're saying Twitter, YouTube. So they should be much more better labeled, like, connect with us on Twitter or
Link Twitter.
watch our videos on YouTube. Those should be the labels there for these links.
Mhm.
So I'll
Yeah,
still
there's a
fail.
couple.
Yeah, I'll
Oh,
still fail
sorry,
them
go ahead.
over there. I'll still fail them because often what happened is when I go to a lot of websites, I see every article has a share link and they say after the share link, there will be a bio, which has again Twitter, Facebook. So you don't know if which Twitter is for sharing, which Twitter is for following someone.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Let's see. I'm trying to look. So there's a few other comments that might be worth sharing real quick. Looking through the chat. So Glenn had mentioned those links that visually scrolled down but didn't go. He said they behave kind of like a table of contents.
Yes.
And so they were
they're like skip link. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were talking about shifting the focus down. And I saw also there was a comment, which I know you wouldn't notice, but there's not actually a visual focus indicator on most of this site.
Okay. Yeah. So that's where my sighted assistant comes and helps me out.
She can get things like color contrast or missing
Yes.
focus.
Yes, she does color contrast, visual focus indicator, resize, reflow. So I'll be there when she's doing it, and from subject matter expert standpoint, I'll be guiding her. Like I'll tell zoom it to 200% and tell me if there are any overlap of content, loss of content, or yeah, all that, and she'll tell me if that is there. And depending on that, I record failures and uh, under my guidance, she takes the screenshots and adds them to the report for me.
Yeah. I haven't seen any other questions. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm sort of curious for you though, because you have, you're putting together the report from that big list that you created. How much time did it take you to build, pre-fill all of those different answers and write all of them?
It's an year and I'm not done yet. I started last year in January and like it took a couple of versions. So my goal is to get every quarter one iteration out. So and so it's pretty straightforward. As I said, I looked at the failure techniques one. And if we go to code sniffer, you have code sniffer that is there. It lists out all the rules that it checks against. And if you go to accessibility insights, that is one place you get more information. Then you get information from Axe core rules. Or so you just need to rewrite the summary. I think even ChatGPT is not there. So it took me a lot of time because I have to write each issue, each description and recommendation and put suggested code snippets. And so I can show you something.
Desktop list. Audit R. Raghavendra R. Resources doc 25 of
if you see this,
resources doc notepad. Text editor.
if you see this massive list here,
Close maximum resources doc. Copy and paste code. HDT
Yes, we
HDT
can see it.
Australia.
you see this. This is the entire, like this is gibberish for someone who looks it, but I find my way inside this. Like any link that I come across, instead of bookmarking, I just copy and put it under a category. So I have different lists
NVDA speech viewer.
on my computer, and what I do is I constantly see if there's something that is missing. I find and I reiterate. So I also built my own.
Firefox, GitHub AlphaGo.
I can show you
Gmail
something.
webinar. Accessibility test. Amber Hines W. Designers bullet digit.
So if you go to Digital 11Y, this is not for public. Yeah.
Visited main landmark, article, list, starter guide tab, advanced guide property page, list, content tab selected 1 of 1, UX tab selected 1, visual tab, content tab selected 1 of 1.
So this gets integrated with the report.
Content property page list with 17 items headings visited link.
I open headings.
Mozilla Firefox, headings bullet digital. Clickable tool, main landmark headings heading. Blind users rely heavily on clear, via a screen reader. Understand, heading level 2 what to do, list with 3 items bullet accurately describe content with succinct heading, bullet indicate, bullet use only 1H1 per page.
So I'm going to add this as part of the references in the reporting again, so that it's more clear and concise.
Did you say that this part of your website is publicly available or not publicly available?
Not there. Yeah.
Okay. Is it something that you're thinking once you build out this library, at some point you might make it available to other people?
Yes. It's not ready yet because there's a lot of corrections that needs to be done. This one, what you're seeing here, is not even 3 months old. So there's a lot of effort that needs to go in. Like I see at least another 3 to 6 months of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I am hugely impressed. I just have to say that with all of the effort that you put into building the library and speeding things up. And I know that's something we've internally talked about with our, trying to make our issues when we find them generic enough that they could be reused on future websites. Because you're right, it really does. That's the bulk of the time of testing is actually building the report. So I really appreciate you sharing this with us, because I feel like I'm taking away ideas for how we can make ours better as well. Yeah,
so that is how the idea came. So I worked with IBM. They have their own set of tools. I worked with DQ. As you know, it's the best, one of the best accessibility solution providers. So they have their own set of tools. And when I left DQ and came out, the goal was for me to do consulting initially, then explore opportunities. But when you get used to a certain process for about 15 years working for various companies, you need those tools. So what will you do? And you can't afford to buy enterprise tool sets, correct? So I thought hard about all this. So last year I learned a bit of Node, React, and other programming languages to see if I can build this on a React app. But the Google APIs have become too complicated to build with React. So I just shifted to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's pretty easy and straightforward.
Yeah, I don't think your screen reader is telling you this, but there are tons of applause reactions floating up in Zoom. And I just wanted to share a few things that people had said in the chat, including, so Danielle said, I'd pay for it, especially to support the time it takes to create and maintain all of this. It's a full and comprehensive system. I definitely second that. I feel like you might have the beginning of a membership or something here where people can get access to these tools. And let's see, Claire said, very impressive. Christian said, I like the self-made tool for sending the reports to Google Sheets. and the autofill thing in Google Sheets. I've never explored autofill, so this was an eye-opener for me. Nathaniel talked about Axe and Selenium being a great automated testing combination. But yeah, I think this is really cool and it's giving me a lot of ideas. So I really appreciate you coming and sharing it with us.
Thank you, Amber. So yeah.
So I don't know if there's any other questions. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover? If not, it might be useful to share with people how they could follow up with you, the best place to connect with you.
The best
we've
place
got
is
your website.
Yeah, best place is Digital Illinois. You can message me from the contact form, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more active on LinkedIn. I kind of left Twitter forever, like even in 2021, end of 2021, not very active there, but I'm more active on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Awesome. Yeah, you're in our group and you've shared a few
Yes.
things in our group that are very helpful.
Yep.
So well, great. Well, thank you very much. I don't see any other questions from anyone, so I think we're gonna wrap a little early and give Raghavendra
Yeah. So
back some of his time.
one thing,
Oh, yeah.
if one resource,
Designers
I think
navigate
this is something that everyone might want to look forward. So
expanded U slash blank at D Agila 11Y selected and collapsed button personalized
so
digital
we have a YouTube channel for
Four,
Digital
digital-
Illinois, and it's just 2 weeks old. If people can subscribe, I'm going to put everything that I learned in my life in accessibility over there in short videos. So
Awesome.
this is going to be something this is going to be my project for this year, and see if I can learn something, while creating videos and other things.
Yeah, can I ask you to also release audio in podcast format? Because I love to listen to stuff.
Yes,
while I'm
that's
doing chores around
happening.
the house.
Yes, yeah, that's
So-
happening. So the first goal is, me and another friend is helping me create WCAG understanding documents, which can be concise and you can understand within 3 minutes.
Oh, wow, that would be awesome.
So it's going to be, let me see if I can do a demo for anyone. Yeah.
Gmail
1
webinar
minute.
out of search edit Zoom blank unselected
I hope there is 2 more minutes.
7:52
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Gmail search result link to column 2 me column 2 Monica NA column 3 graph column 2 Monica Prasad column 3 link inbox double row column 2 me Monica 2 column 3 graphic link inbox FYI script on SC column 1 column 3 graphic link inbox F
Let me
Mozilla
see. This is
Gmail search the grade date sub greater table with 4 rows no next head Raghavendra Satish table with column 2 February Gmail column 2 me Monica 2 column 3 graphic link inbox FYI script on 3.1.1 regards Monica from Raghavendra Satish column 2 me Monica column link inbox FYI script on SC 2.4.6 regards Monica
okay. I'll see
Mozilla
this one.
Gmail F search edit has auto edit out quick table thanks link https://drive.google.com/ sharing the drive link for W hey Ragva link H
Okay.
busy about blank WCH mainland toolbar open organize mainland to or add a download more action Google account displaying mainland toolbar open with menu button organize button
How do I play this?
organize
So
add a comment button download button
you were focused on it, but it might not have
add
a
a
label.
organize button open with menu
need to
button
tab a couple
mainland
times.
clickable play WCAG2 WCAG2
Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about headings and labels. We're also going to talk about its requirements, benefited types, some examples, failure scenarios, and how we can fix them. Headings and labels for the form controls and UI controls must be descriptive. By descriptive, we mean they must be concise, clear, and easy to understand. But why does it matter? Let's see who benefits from this. It's for users who have reading disabilities and other cognitive disabilities such as short-term memory loss. It's for users who use screen readers or other assistive technologies that bring a list of headings for easy navigation and thus can read headings without additional context. And it's for low vision users who can see only a limited number of characters at a given point in time. Now, let's take a look at some examples. A web page containing news articles where the headings contain the first 35 words of the articles and a read more link. Or a contact us page where the users are asked to fill in both the work phone number and the home phone number. So the form field labels read work phone number and home phone number respectively. Unfortunately, there are some failure scenarios. Let's take a look at them. A payment page where the headings are not separated and descriptive for the billing address and shipping address. And a contact us page where the address fields read as address 1 and address 2 instead of address line 1 and address line 2. Now let's see how we can fix them. Content authors must define the section titles of their articles or web pages clearly and concisely. And when designing forms, the form labels must be precise and descriptive enough that users can understand the purpose of the field without additional context. This is the end of the video. Thank you for joining.
That's cool. Those are the videos that you're going to be putting out.
You haven't decided anything, Amber. Let's just say, so I'm chronically ill, sick with kidney issue. I've been a transplant patient. And like after I got my transplant, I want to do really something. And that's during my dialysis period is when I started Digital LNY. It's a story on its own because I kind of, been an athlete, and one day someone says your kidneys have failed. So I'm going to put some of this content, a lot of this content out, and see what I want to contribute back to the community that gave me so much.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. Well, we will all go subscribe to your YouTube channel. There's some hearts there are hearts floating across the screen, just so you know. So Paul put the link in the chat, and we really appreciate you talking, and everyone feel free to follow up with Raghavendra on his website with his contact form or in LinkedIn, and we'll see you back at a meetup in a couple of weeks and maybe a screen reader testing later this week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.